evening, folks, and we're at the halfway stage already. Can you believe it? It is round 4 of 8 of the RaceRoom GT Masters Esports Championship, I should say. And we're heading home to sweet Germany once again, and to one of the most legendary circuits of them all, the Nürburgring. In particular, the Nürburgring sprint layout, commonly used by a number of tin top championships in the fatherland. And today we're going to be hosting our GTs around this fast and furious circuit as we rightly head into the mid-stage of the season. Plenty of points up for offer, and we're going to be taking you through all the action. It's myself, James Kirk, joined once again by Mr. Robert Wiesenmüller. And Rob, last time out at the Red Bull Ring, massive championship wing towards a lot of the Corvette drivers who gained a lot of points. The Corvette was a very strong car last time out, but today here at the Nürburgring, around a much more tight and twisty circuit than whence we were at last round, we're expecting the Porsches to be back on top again.
Hello everyone, hello James. Yes indeed, last time we saw Euronics Gaming and their Corvettes completely dominate the race at the Red Bull Ring. This time out, we think it's a little bit more in favor of the Porsches. Still a Porsche leading the championship, that's Moritz Lerner, but he was not the fastest in the pre-qualifying session for this round.
And that man was Mr. Tim Heinemann. But would you believe it? They're magnetized to each other, aren't they, by hundredths between the two. It was Tim Heinemann ahead of Jack Keithley, a man who didn't have the best of round 3s, but of course you only have to think back 2 rounds to Autodrom Most to remember his dominant victory in the Czech Republic. You have a number of returning names, as you always do, the likes of Wisniewski, Banki, Kunze, Stefanko, Stefanko, of which is one of our main championship protagonists, of course. And the man down at P9, Moritz Lerner, who is our new championship leader. There I was thinking it was going to be one of either Rechel or Baldi, but no, the points proved me wrong once again. And it's Moritz Lerner who leads ahead of Banki and Stefanko, but the point situation as well is very good at the top. It's 20 points between 1st and 5th, Rob, so really it's anybody's game at this stage, and with 100 points once again on offer for a win, if you have a good race and all of your rivals have a bad one, then all of a sudden you're looking at a very healthy advantage indeed.
Yeah, and you're noticing one very prominent name missing from this list here. That's just the winner from last time out, Andre Santos, not competing in this round. Will we maybe see the 4th winner in the 4th race? It's possible with Heinemann here at the top of the grid, and also Wisniewski still looking for his first victory.
Absolutely, we certainly know how many great drivers there are scattered throughout this grid, and it's a shame that we don't see Santos again, because his win last time out was a great spectacle. To have himself and Julian Kunze battling it out right until the last lap, it's what us commentators hope for, really, is an exciting broadcast to bring you. And speaking of the broadcast schedule, here it is. As per usual, we have our qualifying session of 15 minutes in length to try and fight your way to pole position before our 60-minute race with a mandatory pit stop involved. It's your usual fanfare, but generally the usual fanfare provides excellent entertainment for all. So strap yourselves in. Practice is over and qualifying is about to start. If you are new to our regular streams, then first of all, welcome. Lovely to have you with us. But let us explain how this qualifying session works. In terms of the timings, once that ticker hits 0, qualifying is over. There is no finishing the lap. That is your lot. In terms of, can drivers, you know, since it's esports, do they have to drive back to the pits, or, you know, what do they have to do if they get damaged? If they feel that their lap is not going to be bettered, or, you know, if they feel like they just completely ruined it at the first corner, they can escape back to the garage, go back on and try again. It's a very open policy here in the GT Masters Esports Championship, but that's how we like it, because it gives our drivers the best chance of scoring their best lap. And I feel like we are going to be in for a bit of a clash of the old rivalries today, Rob. Heinemann versus Keithley. When those two are at the top of the timesheets when it comes to pre-qualifying, more often than not, they genuinely converted into a strong showing during actual race day.
Yeah, and here we have Jack Keithley on the screen. Lots of history between Heinemann and Keithley, two of the most successful drivers on RaceRoom. See Jack Keithley, he's won a lot of stuff, not only on RaceRoom but also on other sims or racing games. Very successful driver. And yeah, only 1,000 behind Tim Heinemann in the pre-qualifying session.
1,000 in the end, was it? They are inseparable. They are honestly inseparable. And thankfully, different car manufacturers are inseparable from this grid as well. Taking a look at our lone BMW for the day, Mr. Rene Kerkhof, driving in one of his home races. Of course, there are multiple German rounds in his championship, but he missed out on the Red Bull Ring, didn't he, Rob? But he's back and hopefully going to be flying with full colours. Yeah,
he was in server 2 at the Red Bull Ring. Didn't manage to qualify for the top server there, but now back in the top server, driving for Zorg Rennsport Esports, another team which is supported by a real racing team. So good to see him here, good to see him flying the flags of the BMW. We've seen some complaints from the drivers about the balance of performance. Hopefully that should be addressed by the next race, if everything goes well. But yeah, you can see here Kerkhof, he proves that it's still possible to qualify on the grid in a BMW as he's starting his hot lap now. But we just have to jump to Alexandre Froment for a moment, because he's the driver who was the first one out.
Oh, there we go. And so we're going to see him come across the lap and come across the line and set a time. It's purple sectors across the board, understandably. Purple sector is the fastest on track, and since he was the first there, you can understand why he sets a pretty decent time of 1:25.003. Everyone filtering in behind him seems to be not bettering it too much. Hold that thought. Moritz Lerner there and Ben Spunky both jumping in by 0.3 of a second. And there's that man, Jack Keithley. 300ths now separating the top three, but it is the Brit who is coming out on top at the moment. So plenty of time in this qualifying session, of course, to go. And I'm going to wait until we get another car that we know is definitely going to be starting a lap prop before we can take our viewers on a journey of the amazing Nürburgring sprint circuit, as Nick Wisniewski putting in a fantastic time there, a 1:24.4. Where did that come from? I know not, but Julian Kunze as well, following that up with a good time himself, a 1:24.692, and Demos Keithley down to third.
On board with Julian Kunze now, heading into the Mercedes arena.
And this is most of the Grand Prix circuit. Oh, yeah. Hopefully not in too much strife, but you'll notice that there's a lot of this circuit which is it's the GP circuit basically. There's not too much different apart from this bit. This is the big difference, is that we don't go down to the bottom part of the circuit. We close off here around this tight right-hander, and then we're back on it. It's everyone knows the Nürburgring, right? I feel like it is self-explanatory. Especially this part of the circuit. I know that maybe recent F1 fans won't necessarily remember it too fondly, but any German fan out there certainly. Wow,
Keithley 24-1.
It's goodness me, yeah, 24-1 from Jack Keithley. That's another 0.3 clear of Nikodem Wisniewski. What a benchmark to try and mount there. Can he hit the 1:23s even? I wouldn't put it past him if he's in this sort of mood. Julian Kunze rounding the final corner now, the Coca-Cola curve. Goes out nicely to the outside curbing and crosses the line to go. It is an improvement, but he doesn't actually improve his position. Still a 1:24.6 for the German.
Still a good performance for Julian Kunze here in the Corvette. As we mentioned before, the Corvette on this track, not as OP as it was on the Red Bull Ring. Because here it's a lot more about the traction out of the corners, not so much about straight line speed. But yeah, we are waiting for someone to rival Jack Keithley there, and in fact Tim Heinemann is not even on the server right now.
No, he's not. He's the lone absentee at the moment.
That's weird, because I've seen him in practice on the server.
Could be technical issues afoot for the German, and let's have a bit of context as well here. His championship has not been great.
No.
In fact, he's sitting on minus points at the moment in the championship as things stand. He has yet to finish a race run.
Yes, he picked up penalty points when he spun Ben Spunky at Autodrome Most. That was a race that he had to quit when there was a problem during his pit stops. We are not sure what really caused it. But yeah, not the season he was hoping for. Let's talk about the drivers who are there today. Let's talk about Moritz Lerner. First in the championship at only 60 and quite a big gap to his teammates Keithley and Wisniewski.
Made that P7, Jaroslav Honzik slotting into the top 6. You've also got Florian Haase, Martin Stefanko, Julian Kunzer and Nikolai Wisniewski there, of course, with Jack Keithley still on provisional pole position with just over 8 minutes remaining of this session. Who's struggling a little bit? But Michael Reichel may be down there in P12, certainly Kuba Brzezinski again. Kuba Brzezinski down in P14. It seems such a long time ago, Rob, that man took pole position in round 1. And since then, his qualifying efforts have been so far off the high standard which he set for himself for that first round. I speak of Reichel outside the top 10. He has corrected me. He's inside the top 10 now, up to P5, before Ben's Bunky up to P3 now, the one-time championship leader, of course, our winner at round 1. He's just slotted in with a 124.567, still 4/10 off Jack Keithley. In fact, there's no one within 2.5 tenths of the Brit as things stand.
Honzik with another improvement now up into P5. Yeah, and Keithley looks like he's completely dominating here. He was dominant at Most already, and then had a really tough race. He was actually taken out by Wisniewski last time out when they were in at the Red Bull Ring. Wisniewski a lap down, brake too late for the first corner, and Keithley was in the wall. And then on the final lap, he also collided with Moritz Lerner, accelerating out of the second corner, picked up big damage, and was very lucky to keep his position over the line.
It was an ultimate teammate taboo, wasn't it? Not just 2 teammates sitting each other, but 3. I guess stablemates you would call them, since there is no team's championship here. But, well, I've challenged Kuba Brzezinski, and he's put in a decent time now. He's up to P5 with a 124.618, and in all of this, Martin Stefanko's been shuffled down to P9. He now goes into P5, 3 thousandths ahead of the aforementioned Kuba Brzezinski. Things are really tight, Rob. But only from P2 downwards. Jack Keithley still with a strong advantage.
They're very close behind him, and it's really Lerner who's a bit further down than we expected him to be. We thought he would be really, really quick here around the Nürburgring, but so far only P9. That's not what he was hoping for.
Well, of course, it is only qualifying as well, and I'm sure that anybody who would have watched the Formula 1 today would have, you know, understood that just because you can hold a strong qualifying advantage doesn't necessarily translate into the race. There's a number of different factors that go on. Moritz Lerner, he's an experienced, accomplished racer. From P9, I still feel that he can do good things. But one positive, certainly, for the neutral in this particular qualifying session, Rob, is to see the Corvettes up there. We were hearing all sorts of things about, oh, you know, the Porsches are going to have as much of an advantage here as the Corvettes did at the Red Bull Ring. Doesn't seem to be the case early stages, at least.
Yeah, that's true indeed. Lots of Corvettes, of course, on the grid, and there's also always this other factor when you talk about the balance of the cars. Maybe the Porsche and the Corvette are a little bit overpowered compared to the other cars, but also most of the fast drivers are drawn towards these cars, even if they're just half a tenth faster than the other ones. So that's why you don't see any Audi actually on the grid. Lucas Buron and Fabian Hackel representing Audi in the second grid, for example. Buron actually was on the podium there. And the last race in the second grid was won by a Mercedes. So, you know, these cars, they're not so far off, but of course, here in the Esports Championship, you have the choice which car you pick, and a lot of drivers in this case will just go for the Porsche or the Corvette.
And I'm pretty sure you mentioned it early doors as well, Rob, but we've seen your cries, audience. Where is the balance of power? When is the update? Well, if our lovely technicians back at RaceRoom are anyone to believe, and I do believe them, they're a good bunch of people, we should be expecting, potentially, an update as early as next round, in which case all of these drivers have the capacity and have the option to change their car should they see fit. So it's going to be real curious the next week in particular, if that update is pushed through in time. Just seeing whether anyone chooses to change tack and to take into perspective this new balance of power, and maybe we'll see more BMWs, maybe we'll see more Audis. I certainly hope so, just for the colour that it provides to the field. But the only colour which Jack Keithley is seeing is green, 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 and he'll be looking up at the lights, certainly from the front row at the moment. Still over 2.5 tenths clear of Nikodem Wisniewski in P2. With 3 minutes remaining, it is Hasse then in P3 with Kunze P4 and Banki rounding out the top 5. Our championship leader Moritz Lerner down in P10, joined by, again, it's such a stacked field that we've got Baldi and Vermont outside the top 10. Such is the quality. And behind them, actually, we have the two Zengaffinen twins. So we saw Manuel Zengaffinen getting into server 1 last time out. It wasn't exactly a spectacular performance, but it was his first round. You can give him that one. Better qualifying performance, certainly this time around from him, maybe being spurred on by his twin, who's right behind him in P14.
Well, he just improved into P8, but he actually hit the gravel on the exit of the corner, so that could have been a faster lap for him. Good to see him here, still fighting in the top 10, and yeah, Lerner P11, but when you look at the names ahead of him, there's no one where you would say, oh, that's a surprise that he's in the top 10.
Yep. That's a very good observation. And you've also got to look and think, oh, you know, surely he can find some time. Oh, it's Roman Ivanov there with a spectacular exit of the circuit. I don't think he's going to be improving anytime soon. Certainly looking at the timer, if you're not out on the circuit now, then you are not going to be finishing another lap. But yeah, Florian Hasser up to P2. There we go. That's an improvement into the 124.3s. Still over 2 tenths clear of Jack Keithley's time. But yeah, I look at Lerner and I'm like, oh, well, you know, how can he not improve any further? Even with Florian Hasser's improvement there to a 124.373, that's 3 tenths separating second down to 11th, Rob. Such fine margins, and around one of the shorter circuits on the calendar as well.
Yeah, it's really, really close here. Imagine how close it would be if Keithley was not on the grid here.
Yeah. And, well, the other big elephant in the room is, where is Tim Heinemann?
He's still not on the server. That means even if he joins, he won't be able to set a qualifying time. So that's probably another race for the bin. Another race where he will get no progress in this championship.
One of our new boys, Dennis DeMarco, the Italian. Currently P28. He's going to be lining up on the second to last row. It'll be Rene Kerkhof on his lonesome back there at the moment. There's other new men here, of course, to worry about. Wisniewski spins there at the chicane, and that is his qualifying over. Only really Julian Kunze and Kuba Brzezinski now in with a chance of potentially usurping this time. And I don't think anyone's going to do it. I don't see any purple sectors, Rob. And to be fair, I think certainly given his dominance throughout the entire session, I think it is safe to say Jack Keithley takes his second pole of the season.
Yes, congratulations to Jack Keithley, the Williams Esports driver. Pole position here. Ahead of Florian Hasse, Corvette on the front row. Then Wisniewski, Kunze, Banki, Stefanko. Brzezinski in 7th, Baldi in 8th. Once again Rechel rounding out the top 10. And championship leader Moritz Lerner starting only in 11th.
And so Keithley breaks the individual pole record here. It's he's the first man to pick up his second pole position of the season. Can he break the spell in the wins column as well? Currently it's Banki, Keithley and Santos all with 1 win apiece. Wouldn't put it past him to rack up his second as well and leap further up in the championship, closer towards the top. As always, it is an hour that lies ahead of us of racing, with a mandatory pit stop to be taken within the middle 45 minutes, no, the middle half an hour, sorry, of the race. And excitement builds, Rob. It's a long run down to turn 1.
Yes, we can see the cars lining up. Keithley in the white and black Porsche, and alongside him Hasse in the white and blue Corvette.
Yeah, Hustle will have the inside line. Will it make a difference? Keithley's generally pretty handy with his starts. The red lights illuminate. The engine revs rise. And we're racing here at the Nürburgring. It's going to be difficult to tell who has got the better of the starts until they race down to turn 1. But certainly as they come closer towards our picture, it is becoming abundantly clear that it is Jack Keithley who looks good. Although, look into the inside there was Nikitin Wisniewski maybe fancying a little move on his teammate before remembering last time out and thinking, wait, hold on, I hit my teammate last time out. Maybe I should give him a bit more space. It was Florian Hasse there with the worst start out of the top 3. He's down to P3 already, and you could see just how much time he was losing the closer and closer he got to turn 1. And as we filter our way through the Mercedes arena, everyone else is pretty much lying astern as things stand. There's not really many who've gained positions. Moritz Lerner, one of them certainly, up to P9 after a disappointing qualifying. Again, I tell you, you've got to watch out for him in the race. One to certainly move his way up the order, and it seems like the only person to come out of there with real grief was Julian Zengaffinen, who's all the way down to P27 after a midfield start. It's now onto this back straightaway, round this elongated curve. There's no DRS to help you in these cars. You've got to rely on your natural slipstream and overtaking prowesses into the chicane there. I think that was Martin Stefanko looking on Jaroslav Honzik. It might have been Noj and Ivanov fighting. Whatever the case, at the end of lap 1, it is Keithley who leads, but it is a slender advantage over his stablemate Nikitin Wisniewski, followed then by Hasse Banki, Kunze Brzezinski, Honzik Stefanko, Baldi and Lerner.
Oh, and I think Lerner's under pressure here. He's actually attacking Baldi around the outside. Can't make it stick though.
He was in 9th though, Rob, so it's Baldi through on Lerner in this particular occasion.
A nice start by Ricardo Baldi, and of course at the start the Porsche is always in a little bit of an advantage because of the weight on the rear. Just gets off the line a little bit better than the two Williams Esports cars. They've made the most out of it. Jack Keithley leading the race, but closely followed by Wisniewski.
And what we hope for now is that there are no shenanigans, because certainly that was the thing which aided Keithley, and it was Lerner in second at the time, and pardon the pun, the most. There was incidents drone throughout the top 10, which really helped elongate the gap between first, second, and then the rest of the pack. This time around, it's been a cleaner start overall. Again, the only casualty I can really see being Julian Zengaffinen. And everyone just making their way through turns 10 and 11, through the Coca-Cola curve of turn 12. And Gogo Baldi looks like a man on the move, lining up Martin Stefanko, who finished off the podium for the first time this season, last time out in the Red Bull Ring. Not all of his own accord, of course. There was shenanigans involved in that particular scenario as well.
Oh, in the foreground, that's it's actually Honzik who's gone past Brzezinski here.
That's a nice little move up the inside of turn number 2, and through turn 3 we can see the move completed. The Czech driver up into P6, and the Chevrolet grunt down the straight. It's coming good, Rob, especially down that home straight of all places. It's not exactly the longest. I would have expected more slipstreaming down the turn 9 straight away. But hey, if you can make an overtake work, then why wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I'm really surprised by the performance of the Corvettes here. Looking really strong at the moment. And Julian Kunze, he's the next one to make a move, I think. Lining up Ben Spunky ahead of him.
It's a surprise, but a welcome one. And Julian Kunze, who finished on the podium for the first time, I should say, last time out in the Nürburgring, in the Red Bull Ring. There you go. It was close margins as well, literally following Santos to the line on that particular occasion. I get the impression now he's got a taste for the podium. He'll want a bit more of where that came from, but he does have to get past an equal car in a Chevrolet, being driven by a race winner already this season, Ben Spunky.
Was reigning champion of the Esports WTCR. Very accomplished driver in sim racing. Oh, we have to jump to Mr. Kerkhof here.
Oh!
There's been a massive accident on the straight.
And I don't understand how. Who was involved in that? I see Oliveira, DeMarco,
Cortese is out of the race.
Who's out.
I'm not sure how they managed that. Dennis DeMarco's car is completely destroyed there in the background. As he retires from the race as well.
That's 2 retirements on the spot. One of our new boys, DeMarco and Gio Cortese, out of this race in spectacular fashion. How on earth did that happen on the straight? I can't quite comprehend. The biggest winner out of all that actually is Rene Kerkhof, who's been able to slide through all the shenanigans. He's up to P20. Further up the order is Honzik. Honzik falling down the order. He's down to P10, P11, and what has happened?
It looks like a wheel disconnection, I think.
Yep, he is off the circuit, isn't he? And he's into the wall. That looks like a steering failure to me on his rig. And after such a great start, Jaroslav Honzik falling down the order. Will he be back in this race? We'll have to wait and see.
Nah, he left the server. It might have been the disconnect as well, because he left the server now. Honzik out of the race. Oh, and Baldi versus Stefanko.
Going to move to the outside of turn 1. And further up, did you see how close to the wall those two got behind as well? Oh, Stefanko spins him! Stefanko spins Brzezinski. It looks like the softest of touches. And I think that Stefanko is going to be waiting now for Brzezinski to go back through on him, because you can see him letting Baldi and Lerner through as well. A real shame for Kuba Brzezinski after a better qualifying than the last couple of rounds, certainly. All the way down to P17, and for Stefanko as well, who's been impervious the first couple of rounds. He was taken out, not of his own accord, in Red Bull Ring, but that was most certainly his mistake, no matter how small a contact it looked, Rob. Just one little turn, and especially down there where traction is oh so important, just the slightest slip up and you'll be round.
Yes, and I think it happened because he was trying to hold the position against Baldi, and then just a small mistake. Baldi benefited a lot, and also Lerner up to P7 now.
It looks like Stefanko has decided, you know what, it's not worth me waiting. I'm quite happy to take the penalty points and stay where I am.
Just get the confirmation in the chat. Wheel disconnected for Honzik.
Oh, that is such a shame. And so he becomes our 3rd retirement in quick succession following DeMarco and Cortese.
Oh, there's another one off!
How on earth is this happening?
That's a Rebiec.
How do you spin on the straight? I
think that was on the exit of the final corner. But when I saw these drivers there, you know, moving up to the pit wall on the previous lap, just before Brzezinski got spun, now I can understand how this happens. Because they're driving very aggressively, especially here in the midfield.
Oh, Kerkhof's gone super deep as well. He's got a bit of a tank there though, and he uses it to full advantage as they bash their way into the Mercedes arena. Who is this? It's Julian Zingaffinen, the recovering Julian Zingaffinen. That's a nice move, slotting it up the inside of turn 3 there on Kirill Antonov.
And that's Jaroslav Honzik. He's back in the race.
He is still racing. Fair enough, not retiring.
He disappeared from my timing. Huh? And he disappeared from my timing screen for a moment. And now he's, but he's still there.
And let's be fair as well. If you finish the race, you score points. So if he can keep going, then he might as well just score as many points as he can. Of course, it is provisionally the top 20 who qualify for our live final at the Tuning World Bodensee. That will probably change given the format of the final, but
yes,
and given that some people won't want to join anyway. But I'm sure you can explain in greater depth.
Yes, and the main thing about the final is that always 2 drivers are teaming up with each other. So that means that, for example, Hasse and Kunze, that's it's not confirmed, but I think... Oh, there's another one off! That's unbelievable!
Who's it this time?
Antonov.
Kirill Antonov, who was in battle with Julian Zingaffinen.
Crazy stuff happening here on the start-finish straight. I mean, the start was clean, all the other corners are clean, but on the start-finish straight, this has been the 3rd accident now, the 4th if you count the spin from Brzezinski. But yeah, back to the final. There's always 2 drivers teaming up with each other. So that means, for example, Kunze and Hasse, just as an example, they will most likely team up with each other. And they're also both gonna finish inside the top 20. So that means driver in 21st will also get a spot and he can pick a teammate.
So it's complicated, basically.
It's complicated, but it also means even if you're outside of the top 20, you still have a chance of attending the final event, of course.
And remember as well that we have the drop score system in place as well. Now, the championship standings that we were talking about earlier, they have not had drop scores implemented. They will be implemented after round 4, and so that combined with the balance of power update that we're expecting for round 5, going into the second half of this championship, there is definitely a good foundation for a lot of things to change. And I'm super excited about that. As going deep there. Who was that? That looked to me like the Porsche of Moritz Lerner. Or was it further up the road? Was it Wisniewski, sorry?
I think it was Wisniewski, actually.
Yeah, it was Wisniewski.
He's losing a bit of time compared to Keithley, who's doing exactly the same that he did at Most.
Oh, it's not that dominant, Rob. Come on. it's 10 minutes into the race, and Wisniewski can still see Jack Keithley. So I think for the neutral, there's still more hope than the Czech Republic, at least.
You can see Puglisi and the other car there on the inside. That's Balint Benedek. Takes the position.
Well. Listen, Leighton, you've got the recovering Kuba-Brzezinski as well joining in there. I think a top 10 still possible for Kuba-Brzezinski. Might need a little more moving and shaking up in the top 10. Which, as we have passed the first 10 minutes of this race, is currently Keithley, Wisniewski, Hassabanki, Kunze, Baldi, Lerner, Stefanko, Rechel, and Romont. And let's have a shout out to Gogo Baldi once again, Rob. Renewed form, it seems. His qualifying is still something to be worked on, but his consistency in finishing inside the top 10 is admirable, and it's why he's in such a strong championship position as we speak.
Yes, he's one of the true contenders here in this championship. Lerner coming very close under braking here. But it looks like in this race he was putting everyone under pressure. Now that he's passed the other cars, now he's the one who's under pressure. He can't drive away from Lerner.
Of course, these Porsches in the first half of the race, they do tend to have an advantage. We talk about more weight in the back off the line, and so generally that favours the Porsches when it comes to starts. But also, in terms of just handling the fuel better, the heavy fuel at least, the Porsches do tend to have an advantage in that. But over the course of the race, and certainly we've seen this bear fruit in all 3 rounds so far, as the race goes on and as the fuel loads diminish, the Corvettes definitely coming to their own late race. And speaking of Corvettes, we've got an inter-Corvette battle here. Julian Kunze versus Ben Spunky, and Kunze's been staring at that Corvette rear wing now for a good few laps, Rob. And I just wonder whether he's getting a little bit frustrated here as Kuba-Brzezinski perhaps looking up the inside of the chicane. He's going to brake very late on the inside of Simone Puglisi. And that's a beautiful move. Is off to the side there. Who's that? That's Antonov again.
Oh, it's Antonov. Yeah, it's not Ivanov. Antonov already a lap down now.
More troubles for the Russian there, but for Kuba-Brzezinski at least, that is a position gained. It was a nice late move into the Vidal chicane, and he is up to P15, recovery on.
And I wonder if he's maybe trying the Stefanko strategy from last time out, if he's maybe going for a 2-tire change in an early pit stop in this race.
Yeah, because it worked somewhat for Stefanko, but he did fall back a lot as Rene Kerkhof there loses his position to another man who is recovering, Julian Zengaffinen, and Kerkhof looking on the inside of turn 3. No doing. Zengaffinen on this occasion simply has too much pace. And the German will be left licking his wounds once again, and perhaps eyes on rearview mirrors. Marius Dreisig now looks to close up and take P19 for himself.
This is really not a good track for the BMW, it has to be said. I'm kind of surprised that he made it into the top server, because this car is losing all of the time under braking. Very fast actually around the Nordschleife, for example, or Spa. It's probably the fastest car out of all of them. On this calendar, there's just not much hope. I think at Zandvoort it will be a little bit better.
It's the long speed corners which it tends to excel in, right? At least before the balance of power. But then again, balance of power is changing, supposedly, for Zandvoort, so it might be a completely different story as Moritz Lerner breaks late once again. And Gogo Baldi starting to form a bit of a train here. The Hungarian's certainly falling off the back of Julian Kunze up ahead.
And talk about falling off the back.
Yeah, Jack Keithley's checked out, hasn't he? Nitro mode engaged.
Yes, and that's the Jack Keithley that we know. As the pit window opens in this moment.
It's a little red graphic that's just popped out from the timing tower. Whenever someone has taken a pit stop, as we shall see. Thank you very much, Jaroslav Honzik, for, for proving to be a nice example here. You'll see the red turn to green, and that'll be their mandatory pit stop, done and dusted. But for Jaroslav Honzik, this pit stop makes sense. Maybe repair a bit of the damage, strap on the new set of tyres, get to the end of the race, see what you can do in some fresh air.
Yes,
I
think it will be.
Luxury.
Oh, there's someone in front of Baldi. I think it might have been a lap car though.
Or is it Antonov perhaps in? We'll see soon enough. It might be Zarebiec or Antonov, I presume.
Yeah, you can see there. It's actually Zarebiec, yes. Just in the pits now. Shinsky, meanwhile, is still out. He's attacking Benedek now.
And that's a nice line held by Zarebiec, but Kuba Brzezinski crawling all over the back of him like a hiker over a mountain. He wants to climb up and to the peak, which is in this case P14. Zarebiec's going to try and hold on the inside of turn 4 though. Nice, excellent stuff. I like the feistiness here from the Polish driver, but unfortunately his compatriot simply has too much pace on exit. Kuba Brzezinski there holds on to secure P14.
Moving up the grid once again. He's lost a lot of time, of course, when he was spun by Stefanko earlier in the race.
I don't know why I'm saying compatriot. Not only that, but it's not Zarebiec. I'm going bad. It's Balint Benedek. He's Hungarian. Nice stuff, Balint. I apologise for getting you so mixed up. Kuba Brzezinski probably going to be looking forward now, maybe looking towards P13 to Manuels and Gaffinen. And there we go, new front bumper on that Jaroslav Honzik car, P25. So he has actually gained the position at least on Konrad Zarebiec. It was by Eitzer as well who's into the pit. So 3 people taking an early pit stop. And hopefully for Jaroslav Honzik, the only way is up now.
Yes, but he's already a lap down compared to Gaffinen there.
Yeah.
So he has a lot of ground to make up in this race.
Probably going to be relying on other people retiring to gain positions at this stage. There are, of course, no safety cars in the GT Masters Esports Championship. If there's a big incident, then the drivers have to be responsible and just...
Yes, that's a huge difference to the real GT Masters Championship. They make use of the safety car quite often there. We don't have that. I mean, of course, no one can get physically hurt when there's an accident. And also when a car retires, you can just press escape and you're off the track. There's no debris on the track. So, yeah, it doesn't take any cleaning up. You can just continue the race immediately. We still have flags, of course. We have yellow flags and blue flags. Some drivers don't really like these blue flags, or they pretend they're not there.
What's this battle we're looking at here? It's Manuels and Gaffinen, who's definitely gotten the hurry up, hasn't he? He's seen Kuba Brzezinski, now the car behind him, and maybe a little bit more incentive to try and get past Roman Ivanov, who has flirted on occasion with top 5s, Rob. Not been able to convert so far in terms of those big money-paying positions. Manuels and Gaffinen, of course, this is his 2nd round in the championship now, a much more stable, strong showing from him. But Roman Ivanov has the experience in this championship and certainly showing there as then Gaffinen goes wide at turn 1.
Yes, Gaffinen actually picked up a penalty last time out at the Red Bull Ring. The only driver to do so in the first server. There were lots of penalties in the lower servers. Actually, 2 drivers have a race suspension because they caused a huge accident in server 3. Funnily, also on a straight. It's actually on the 2nd straight at the Red Bull Ring. Yeah, a lot cleaner here this time in the first server, although we've seen the big accident in the beginning that took out the Marco and Cortesi.
So it's very much this top 5, isn't it? You have Keithley on his own, Wisniewski versus Husser, although that gap is bigger than the battle that we're looking at and focusing on now, which is Julian Kunze versus Ben Spanky. Kunze just biding his time, Rob? Are we thinking that he's thinking to the pit stop phases, maybe to try and jump Bunky here? Oh, it's Stefanko.
I think Stefanko's in the pits now, right? Yes.
Wow, that's an early stop.
Yeah, he did it last time as well, and it kind of worked out for him. Could be a short pit stop, but we have no reference so far. Asa was a little bit further back. You see, oh, and Kunze has gone past Bunky.
There we go. Not biding his time. Quick answer to a question that I posed. Thank you very much, Julian. And he's going to be thanking himself, of course. Up into P4. Though Ben Bunky still follows closely. Maybe him now thinking to the pit stops. 20 minutes have been and gone of this hour. The drivers still have a good 20 minutes or so. 25 minutes to make their pit stops. So a lot of time to play about with, whether they go long, a strategy that we have seen succeed, or stop short, like Stefanko. I'm sure Stefanko looking to provide a bit of an undercut effect here. But still out in the lead of this race is Jack Keithley. It's still not an unassailable gap. He seemed to get the motor on, Rob, for maybe a lap or two, build up the gap, but now he's very much controlling it. It's difficult to say whether he can continue to extend the gap. I guess he wants to use up those tyres as efficiently as possible.
And I think we saw in the background that Hasse is closing in on Wisniewski. And you can see that's a pretty small gap. Oh, Puglisi is dropping back meanwhile. Maybe he's in the pits as well. Actually, have a look at him. Yes, Puglisi in the pits as well. Might be interesting to follow Stefanko now. See if Stefanko changed only 2 tires again.
You think? That's not a 4-tire change?
I think it is a 4-tire change actually, but can't really tell so far. Yeah, it should be, because he's only 12 seconds ahead of Baeza.
And given how the 2-tire change last time out did backfire at the end, you can see the advantage of having such an early pit stop now, but he realizes that he does need all 4 wheels on that wagon to be in working order to make the most of it. And still, Rob, still nobody able to get past the wall that is Gogo Baldi at the moment. Excellent defensive drive, but in being so defensive, he has lost touch with P5, and it looks to me like Moritz Lerner starting to apply the pressure a bit more here now. But on this home straight, it will be the Corvette with the advantage. Baldi feeling the need to go to the middle of the track, to go defensive. But there's not really much Moritz Lerner can do, except here on the undercut bit, where unfortunately he has a bit of a tank slap, a good save in the end. But once again, it is status quo. Baldi remains ahead.
And I have to change my statement that I did earlier. I think Stefanko changed only 2 tires, and I think Baeza did the same. Because Puglisi, you can see him here behind Baeza. He's 2 seconds behind Baeza, and Baeza is 13 seconds behind Stefanko.
Could all 4 not have changed, or could all 3 have not have changed all 4?
I think Puglisi did. That's why he's so far back compared to Stefanko, because he wasn't that far back before. Stefanko was running in the top 10, and Puglisi was just out of the top 10 around the Benedek area. But he was definitely ahead of Baeza, so I'm thinking that might be a 2-tire change for Stefanko again.
I guess the proof will be in the pudding. As having a cheeky look up the final corner there was Moritz Lerner. You can definitely tell that the clamps are starting to close in on Gogo Baldi. Moritz Lerner getting a little bit impatient, and you would be as well, because you've got Michael Reichel right there behind you as well. technically in a better car for overtaking around this circuit, certainly on the basis of the first 20 or 15 minutes that we've seen. 25 minutes, sorry, I should say. I was right the first time and looking on the inside of the Mercedes Arena. Rahil was, but again, not really too much room. Moritz Lerner forced into a defensive maneuver. Oh, and that's a poor exit there from Gogo Baldi. Forced to go very defensive. Moritz Lerner looking to go around the outside of turn 6 here at RTL. Forced to slot in behind, bashing away. And Gogo Baldi, who's just trying to make his way around the corner, still somehow stays ahead, but the German is getting impatient.
Yeah, that was the first sign of impatience there. You can see the second sign here, flashing the lights.
That is the universal sign for I want to overtake. Be fair. I mean,
I think Lerner should come to the pits now.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I don't see anything that Baldi has done wrong, and you called it. On the money, Moritz Lerner drops into the pits along with Alexander Vermont as well there. And so this train of 4 has been sawed in half. And Baldi and Rahil will be hoping that they can cover off any potential undercut attempts from those two. And now, yeah, this is where Stefanko comes into play. It'll be very obvious if he's made a 2-tyre stop here. Because if he has made a 2-tyre stop, and if the guys ahead of him make a 4-tyre stop, then he should be ahead. So here he comes around the final corner. And we're looking to our left-hand side now as Stefanko comes into the picture. Down the main straight. Where is the other two? Well, there is Moritz Lerner. And he has come out behind Martin Stefanko. So I think you have hit the nail on the head, Rob. I think that Stefanko has made a 2-tyre stop, which would then suggest that Lerner and Vermont have both done a 4-tyre stop.
See which kind of stuff Wisniewski does.
Oh, Wisniewski, sorry, it's the wrong graphic, my apologies, I should have noticed. But yeah, Wisniewski from P2 coming in.
Kerkhof in the pits as well now. Or off the track, not sure what happened to him there. Oh yeah, he's been off the track.
He has been off the track in quite spectacular fashion.
There goes the only BMW in the race. And Rene Kerkhof continues his trend of bad luck and bad results in these races, unfortunately. He always makes it in either into server 1 or server 2, but he has not found a lot of luck in this championship.
Quite smartly choosing to pit as well, as Wisniewski is out ahead of Stefanko. By quite some margin as well, Rob. I wonder if Wisniewski's gone. Oh no, here he comes now. It was a little bit later. Has he done a 4? I think Wisniewski's on a. I think he's done a 2-stop or a
no. I think he's done a 4-stop, because Stefanko was quite far back after he was in the incident. So
it wasn't that far back, Rob. I don't think. He wasn't that far back.
You might be right. We will see.
I mean, I know that we're looking at the times now, and we're looking at Keithley extending the lead, but even the gap between Kunzer and Baldi before this pit stop phase wasn't more than 5 seconds at any point. And that's the train that Stefanko pitted in from.
Keithley's in the pits now as well. Wisniewski just went past Oliveira. Kunzer's in the pits. Bunky's staying out. Oh no, Bunky's also in the pits. Everyone's in the pits now. See, Baldi's not in the pits. Baldi leading the race.
First time this year, I want to say.
There's Kerkhof coming out of the pits, but his car is still broken. Let's see. Let's go on board with Wisniewski. And you might be right. This might have been a 2-tyre stop.
I'm curious about Baldi, whether he wants to go to the end of the race here. Or, well, not to the end of the race, but go for a late pit stop. Because that strategy, more often than not, we've seen successful. So Keithley has made his stop. Here comes Wisniewski down the home straight. And he is going to slot in behind Florian Hasser. And Hasser's going to be on the inside here. Hasser's just done the overcut on him, and I don't quite understand how.
Oof, contact there.
That was a poor outlap from Nikitin Wisniewski, wasn't it? If he's done a 2-tyre stop, then so has Hasser and so has Keithley. But on track, is Hasser now ahead of Wisniewski? And that's going to be real troublesome for the Polish driver, because that Corvette's great on the straights, and as this race progresses, Rob, in theory, is only going to get better with time. Oh, and that's a very wide line as well.
Yes, he's lost a lot of time, really a lot of time to Keithley, because Keithley is also out of the pits now, of course. He's still leading the race. He's got a 5-second gap to Florian Hasse, almost 6 seconds.
Which makes sense to Florian Hasser. It's Wisniewski the one who's lost time, isn't it? He's lost about a couple, 3-4 seconds. Bizarre.
Very curious.
It has been a bizarre race, hasn't it? So much so that with just under half an hour to go, we only have 3 people left to pit. We usually have a lot more around this time, but there we are. The top 3 currently locked out by Banki, Benedek and Dreisig, although you can expect all 3 of those guys to come in the next 10 to 15 minutes or so, mostly because they kind of have to if they don't want to lose too much time to their rivals around them. Net lead, of course, is going to be Jack Keithley. Florian Hasser and Nikitin Wisniewski, probably the top 3 as they were. We believe there is a real mix of strategies here then, with Martin Stefanko a potential 2-tyre stopper.
I'm actually not sure anymore now that I've seen all these cars. Now I'm actually thinking maybe Puglisi just had a horrible pit stop. Maybe they're actually all on the same strategy, all changed 4 tires, and it was just Puglisi who was kind of a reference car, just dropped way behind in his pit stop.
We are speculating at this point. We don't have a Ted Kravitz, unfortunately. We don't have someone down in the pit lane. Someone who is in the pit lane, though, is Gogo Baldi, is Balint Benedek. They have chosen to bite the bullet now. They're not going to hold out for the long-term strategy. And will Baldi come out ahead of the train which he once led?
Yeah, I think it was not actually Banki in the train. It was Lerner, right?
It was Lerner, yeah. Banki was ahead. And now it looks like Stefanko's ahead as well, as is Lerner. Here comes Gogo Baldi. He's lost a heap of time. Look at Vermont coming down the home straight as well. Is he going to get past into turn 1? Yeah, he throws himself around the outside. There goes Michael Rechel as well, although contact on exit between himself and Baldi. Rechel going to throw himself up the inside of turn 2 as well. But Gogo Baldi holds strong. Turn 3 now, the 2 Corvettes go side by side, and Baldi's going to have a real issue here because he's got to warm up his tyres. Sticks it up the inside of turn 4. Strong defence. Elbows out from Gogo Baldi, and he just about fends off. A mighty challenge from Michael Rechel here into turn 6. But he has lost a heap of positions. He's down to P9, where he came in roughly P6 or P7.
But of course, he will have the fastest car for the rest of the race now. He will have a small advantage over everyone else, because he's got fresher tires. We've actually got a battle for the lead here. Marius Dreisig has not been in the pits. He's been caught by Jack Keithley.
Good on him, gets the lead of race. How hard does he defend?
I don't think he will defend
The answer is he doesn't. Smart move, I'd say. That is not his battle. And so Jack Keithley then retakes the lead. And I think it's pretty fair to say that with the exception of Dreisig up there in the top 10, we do have a pretty solid order. So following Keithley after Marius's eventual pit stop, we'll have Hasser, Kunze. Where's Wisniewski?
Where is Wisniewski?
Where is Wisniewski indeed?
He is not on the server anymore.
That is a disconnection. That is a retirement for the Polish driver, who becomes our 4th of the day. We completely missed that. Only because it was so anonymous. There we go, yeah. Wisniewski gone, out the race. And so Husser and Kunze then will form what is the rest of the podium. The rest of the top 10 should be Bunky, Stefanko, Lerner, Vermont, Baldi, Rechel, and David Naj, who's been able to maneuver himself up into a good position.
And that's a big setback for Wisniewski, who was in a promising position in the championship.
Let's see, he was P7 and 41 points off the lead of the championship. I mean, this will, of course, become his drop score, so it's not like it's the end of the world, but ideally you want to be scoring as best as you can in every race so that the drop score is irrelevant. That's I don't know whether that was a late lunge or a deep entrance from Julian Zingapin. Either way, he's ahead of Baeza.
Yes, Adrian Baeza, he's been in this grid for each of the races so far, but he hasn't really left a big impression. He's mostly in the midfield, sometimes towards the back. Now he has a pretty good race here, but he's also been in the pits early, so always quick on the time attack, but still struggling a little bit in the races, struggling to adapt to RaceRoom, because I believe he's a pretty new driver to RaceRoom. Oh, we have to jump to Hasse.
Indeed we do. Under a lot of pressure here from his compatriot Julian Kunze.
I think it's 30.
He's attacking Dreisig. My apologies there. And once again, Dreisig moves out the way. It was a compatriot at the end of the day, but a battle that was a non-battle in the end. Florian Hassan moves his way through. And Dreisig really in for the long haul, isn't he? He's going to try and do that long-ended strategy to have the best tyres possible at the end of the race. So just glancing over at our championship standings, Rob. Lerner, Bunky, Stefanko, Baldi, Rechel. That was your top 5. 225 for Moritz Lerner, 205 for Michael Rechel. Now, of course, you have Jack Keithley in there as well. He's going to be scoring 100 points if he converts this win. That will put him on to 255. But the likes of Lerner, that lot, they're all still scoring more points. So far, the story of this race, at least, is Julian Kunze also passes Marius Dreisig now, so the podium is pit stopless affected. I don't know the words which I'm trying to use there. Basically, it's as you should expect it, the net top 3 at least. We're expecting at the end of this, Jack Keithley to really jump up into championship contention.
Yes, indeed, we are, but there's a lot of drivers who could move their way up into championship contention. Maybe Baldi, who's putting a lot of pressure on Romand.
Getting back some of the positions that he's lost through the pit stop phase here. Gogo Baldi. Romand's just sticking his car in the middle. Making Baldi choose, making Baldi dive to the inside, and making Baldi go through into P8. That was a sensational move from the Hungarian. The door was left wide open, and he stormed on through.
Yes, and also good job by Romand, not fighting it too hard. He probably knows his rival in this race is not Baldi, it's rather Rechel. So we've seen a lot of improvements from Alexandre Romand as well. That's why he might be also a driver who could move up into championship contention if he continues in this form. But yeah, Baldi doing everything that he needs. And I think now he will get away from Romand and try to close the 8-second gap he has to Lerner and Stefanko.
Or we're going to have a repeat of what happened before.
Wisniewski just Nikolai Wisniewski just mentioned in the chat that he lost power, so probably a power cut for him at home and out of the race. Very unlucky. At least there's a drop score, so we can't count him out completely.
Not the worst case scenario, at least. Got a nice tasty battle here between the two Porsches. And again, just referencing back to that Corvette Porsche battle, it does seem very equal, doesn't it? Because Jack Keithley's very much in a a world of his own, but then he's followed by 4 Corvettes, Rob. And it's these two then, the second and third Porsches on track. Lerner going to be at an advantage to Martin Stefanko. Our first pitter of the day was the Czech driver, really taking the initiative, trying to seize the day, but I do fear that he's going to suffer a similar fate to what happened to the Red Bull Ring, where he just only falls backwards from here on out. Moritz Lerner, he knows that Ben's Bunkie is ahead of him. If he was to get into P6, that might keep Lerner in P1 in the championship. I don't think it would, though. I need to go back and double check the point system, because as you can understand, for a point system that rewards everyone who finishes, it's pretty complicated.
And also the drivers in server 2, 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Either way, Stefanko has a good pace. I think he's on the same tire strategy, just has older tires now than Lerner. Otherwise he would be a lot slower now. Oh, and I think Bunkie has caught up with 30 now as well. Yeah, 30 should be going to the pits now. Yes, indeed. So everyone's pitting.
With 4 minutes left until the pit lane closes, Marius Dreisig finally makes his pit stop. And so now the true order of things is revealed. I know, stunning. One driver comes into the pits and we couldn't figure it out. One driver dives up the inside and potentially takes position. Contact between Stefanko and Lerner here as they go almost side by side through turn 2, but Martin Stefanko with the inside line. Here comes Lerner on the cutback, throws it up the inside of turn 3. Once again side by side, but once again Stefanko will have the inside of the next corner. The Czech driver defending to save his life, but that's a poor exit. And surely the German is going to be through. And RTL at turn 6, yes he is. Martin Stefanko finally concedes. And Moritz Lerner is up into what is now P5, of course, with Marius Dreisig pitting.
Fantastic driving between these two drivers here, between these two championship contenders. Martin Stefanko from the GT Omega RPM Esports team, the team from Malta. And Moritz Lerner, of course, driving for Williams Esports, as is our race leader Jack Keithley. Short update from server 2, BMW leading. Johannes Weiss leading the race ahead of 2 Audis. How about that?
Man, that's, server 2 is just wild. It's crazy times. I mean, there was a Mercedes winning last time out in the Red Bull Ring, wasn't there? Yeah, it was Lucas Kolb who won the race last time out in server 2, and Johannes Weiss has won the first 2 races in his BMW. Just a shame that he never makes it into the server 1 in the pre-qualifying session. Of course, you have to pre-qualify for each round individually. That means, I think Brzezinski, he has lost the position there. Yeah, Brzezinski and Zen Gaffinen of the manual variety were having a bit of a tough with each other. A bit of a tiff. Brzezinski is through into P10. And another driver has lost the connection here. We only have 27 drivers on the server. Ooh, dropped. I'm scanning my way through the field. Was it Naj? I think it was Naj, yeah. It was David Naj, who was having a good race, to be fair, up inside the top 10. Technical issues have robbed yet another driver of good points. And so our retirement count is now up to 5. And Kuba Brzezinski's gifted the top 10. To be fair, it's fair reward actually, because Kuba Brzezinski, I mean, you remember that he was kind of unceremoniously taken out by Martin Stefanko, who thought about letting him back through before seeing how turned around he was. Stefanko continuing on his way, so Kuba Brzezinski back inside the top 10. I think that's fair reward, but of course it's so harsh on the likes of David Naj, of Nikitin Brzezinski, who couldn't really do anything about what happened. Yeah, that's a shame, especially for Naj, because he also had a pretty bad season so far. It's not the first race that he did not finish. We see Rechel here, and we can see the car in the background. That's already Kuba Brzezinski. He's lightning, isn't he? He's on a rapid pace. And he needs to be as well as we hurtle towards the final quarter of round 4 here in the RDSA GT Masters Esports Championship. 15 minutes left on the clock. It is Jack Keithley who leads by a comfortable margin of 4.4 seconds. Hardly laying a finger on his Autodrom Moss domination, but he's comfortable. He's controlling the race. That's all he needs to do. It is Corvettes joining him currently on the podium. Hassa followed by Kunze, and the rest of the top 10 rounded out by Banki, Lerner, Stefanko, Baldi, Roman Vrechel, and Brzezinski. All names inside the top 10 that you'd say you'd pretty much expect to be there. Are there any standout performances? I say that Manuels and Gafflin's having a much better time of things. He's just outside of the top 10, though. Whether he can get inside that is a big question mark, given that Kuba Brzezinski has just only recently overtaken him. I think P11 would be a decent finish. And of course, you have Jaroslav Honzik there, who had a steering failure earlier in the race. He's managed to keep going, and he's up to P22. As long as he finishes this race, he scores points, which is important given that he is one of those contenders to potentially make it to the Tuning World Bodensee live final at the end of our 7-round-long championship. Online championship, I should say. 8 rounds if you can attain the final as well. But that's just me.
Yes, and the way it looks, we will race more than only one race at the final, so that should be quite exciting. More info will come soon. Of course, there are also other races happening at the same time at the Tuning World Bodensee final. So I have a race where you can win a motion simulator, so you should definitely check that out at RaceRoom. Yeah,
guarantee you that still would make me a better driver, you know that, Ron.
Yeah, I've tried it, and it's pretty awesome. It's also difficult because you need to use a lot more force. You've got a really nice wheel, really nice pedals, but you need to use the force, and things shaking you through. You feel every bump on the road and so on, and it's a bit more demanding for sure. But it also feels really cool.
Really immersive.
Yeah.
I love those motion simulators, but that is still a long way away. It is still half a season away, of course. Plenty of points still on the table to be picked up. And still, the battles are relatively close, albeit not quite close enough. The closest one on track right now appears to be Romont and Gogo. Baldi here with Michael Rechel pretty close as well, a triple Corvette threat. But Gogo Baldi is some 5 seconds behind Martin Stefanko.
Oh, but he's closing the gap. This was 8 seconds a while ago.
You are right, yeah.
Behind Kerkhof now, still continuing with his beat-up BMW.
And I do have to fear for Stefanko. I did say it seemed like a very early pit stop. Whether he's on a 2 or 4 tyre strategy, we're not sure. We think that everyone else is on the same strategy as him based on
Kerkhof is not letting Roman through there, and they had a collision once before.
What is that driving, Rene? What is that driving, Rene?
He's gonna almost cost the position to Roman. I'm not sure what he's doing there, because with this car, it's clear. I mean, maybe he can stay ahead of the RaceRoom there, who's behind him. If you finish P23 or P24, what kind of difference does it really make?
I feel as if Rechel actually let off the pedal out of pity for Roman. That was some poor back marking. Not the first time that we've said that this season, of course. Not necessarily just for Kerkhof.
Yeah,
there has been some
the thing is that the RaceRoom is actually right behind Kerkhof, so maybe he was focused on something else. But here you can see the RaceRoom just picking a very nice opportunity to let Brzezinski through.
Yeah, you are 100% correct on the Baldi front. And I'm just curious as to whether Stefanko is starting to worry more about tyre conservation than anything else. Good news for him, at least, is that we are now a minute away from the 10-minute countdown to the end of the race. So we're only looking at what? 4, 5 more laps left? Maybe 6? The light is at the end of the tunnel, definitely.
Yes, and Keithley has not extended his gap.
He's actually lost time.
I'm not sure. I don't think the Corvette there, I don't think that is Hasse. I think that's the lap Corvette. Maybe Honzik.
No, but he's definitely lost time because Hasse's within 4 seconds now.
Oh, and here you see Kerkhof and Zarabiak and Zengaffinen. In the middle of it, Zengaffinen, of course, one lap ahead of these two. They are still fighting for 23rd position.
I mean, you can kind of understand Kerkhof's viewpoint. He doesn't want to lose track position, but at the same time, with Zarabiak going down the inside here, you can't help but feel that it's perhaps a bit of karma for not respecting blue flags. Ooh. Oh, and well, I don't really know what to say there. Zarabiak just got very excited and completely threw away a chance of P23.
Still fighting hard, even though it's the last position of all these people running. We've got a guy that we haven't seen at all in this race. Tomasz Tumidajski, the Irishman. On his debut in Server 1. Nice performance, and now he's behind Marius Leisig, who's of course on the freshest tires out of all cars on the grid.
I always say, if you're a new guy here, and if you're not exactly a top 10 qualifier, then generally finishing inside the top 20 is a good result. And he looks to be finishing inside the top 20 comfortably as well. Bernard Vella, the Maltese driver, the next one down the road, and he's 3.5 seconds behind.
Bit of oversteer there on the exit. Daisky has to watch out. But yeah, nice debut from him. It's a pretty good debut. Let's see, actually the best debutant in this race, that's Julian Zengaffinen, P14.
Expected though, he's got so much experience.
Yeah. I think, yeah, he's the second best then. Fredriksson was already in the first race. Reisig also was on the server. Oh, that's a change of position. Reisig lost the place to Tumidajski.
That surprises me, given how fresh Dreisig's tyres should be. And against a Porsche. I don't quite understand how this has been allowed to happen. My brain is trying to wrap my head around it. Fresh tyres, better car at this stage of the race, more power on the straights. How on earth is he losing time to Tomasz? Or is Tomasz just that good?
Yeah, maybe Tomasz is just flying at the moment. His fastest lap time was 1:25.7. That's half a second faster than Reisig's fastest lap time, so it might be that he's just a bit faster.
There you go. Good on you. Nice to see the flag of Ireland flying high on St. Paddy's Day, of course, as well. Bit of luck of the Irish, perhaps, about him, as he looks to close down on Adrian Baeza in P17. Don't expect too much movement on that front, however. There's 8.5 seconds gap to be gobbled up. I doubt it will be. Jack Keithley still leading and has responded to the increased threat from Hasse. Over 5 seconds now, the gap between the Brit and the German. Julian Kunz is still watching brief in P3. Ben's Bunky all on his own in P4 there, 10 seconds behind Julian Kunze. And really the top 10 is kind of just separated apart, with the exception of Vermont down here in P8, who still has Micha Rekel and the charging Kuba Brzezinski now for company as well.
Yes, and I think both Baldi and Brzezinski could close up and start a battle. Baldi really has to hurry up, but he's definitely quicker than Stefanko at the moment. Brzezinski, on the other hand, he's already really close.
And time is a fickle mistress, though. It continues to run out when you least want it to. Just as you're starting to build momentum, the checkered flag will fly. Brzezinski with a real chance to just put the cherry on top of what has been a very competent recovery drive. Rekel and Vermont certainly two drivers that he can overtake here. Still question marks over whether Martin Stefanko will pick up penalty points for what was definitely his fault in the contact. It's all down to whether Kuba Brzezinski wishes to press charges against the Czech driver. But yeah, he is definitely with these two now, isn't he? It's more a question of where can he overtake, where is the opportunity going to be, because he's up against two Corvettes. And, well, we've seen with Tumidajski at least that a Porsche can overtake on the straights. But it's all about that pace differential. Is it enough, Rob?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but he's looking very quick at the moment, so I think eventually he will try to make a move at least. Just another car that I would like to focus on, just for a brief moment. That's Kerkhof, because he's definitely closing the gap to Stefanko. Now it's less than 2 seconds.
The proverbial cliff has been reached, I feel, and I fear. I mean, obviously, it's nowhere near as bad as Red Bull Ring, because Stefanko had a better starting position, didn't he? It wasn't like he was mired in the midfield, looking to perform an undercut, and then falling off and having the midfield re-overtake him. He started in the top 10. And so he's performed the undercut. He's got a good lead over a number of drivers. Will he be able to hold on to P6, though? Looking less and less likely as the seconds tick on by. Back to this triple battle between Rekel, between Vermont and Brzezinski behind him. The three strewn out across the home straight as they head into turn 1. And out of turn 1 they come, all line astern. Nobody really looking too hard at a maneuver. Maybe just biding their time. 4 minutes and 10 seconds are left on the clock now. My eyesight is often not the best thing to be judged from, or judged upon, I guess, but I definitely see Kuba Brzezinski as the fastest driver in that 3. His car just looks more alive.
It does, but he hasn't really shown any attempts yet. So I wonder if he will actually go for a move. Baldi now under 1 second, just briefly. We'll swap back to Baldi. Baldi, of course, has the straight line advantage against Stefanko. It's something that Brzezinski doesn't have here. For Brzezinski is even harder because Rechel ahead of him has the slipstream of Romand. So for him to make an overtake, it's quite a big task. So I think it's actually more likely that Baldi will be the one who will make a move.
I agree. Should we jump to that battle then? I feel like that would be apt. And here we are then, the bumper camp of Gogo Baldi. Edge Esports, Hungarian driver. You can see how much more confident he is, not only on the brakes but on the power as well. Absolutely demolishing the gap between himself and Stefanko. And even if he was to remain in P7, this is yet again another consistent race from Gogo Baldi. Good points scored. Hardly threatening the top 3. But to qualify for the live final, the consistency is all you really need.
Yes, and I think Baldi is planning to attend the live final together with Notch. And Notch is not inside the top 20 at the moment. He's nowhere near the top 20 after another DNF in this race. So Baldi really needs a good championship finishing position.
There are, of course, others within the Edge Esports stable as well, which he might consider as decent to take along. I mean, off the top of my head, Kevin Sigi-Rebenak certainly someone who I would consider taking to that live final as a partner. But I fear the time is running out for him, Rob. Jack Keithley currently going around the Mercedes arena.
Yeah, so this lap and then one more.
Yeah, 2 laps remaining, including this one. We're on the penultimate. So then, the ball is in your court, Mr. Baldi. And Stefanko, well, he's going to have more motivation than ever. He knows that he's only got a couple more laps left to defend this position. Gogo Baldi looking very hungry indeed, looking a lot more stable on every corner exit. Pretty good one this time around from Martin Stefanko, certainly. But I'm looking at the Vidal chicane. I'm looking at turn 1, Rob. And I'm thinking those are going to be the danger elements, although goodness me, Baldi doesn't want to afford too many more mistakes like that, even though it's a little slip of the clutch. Those are the fine margins which might very well cost him this P6.
Even closer here between Brzezinski and Rechel. Let's jump back to this battle in a moment. Let's see if there's a move into the chicane. Keithley starts his final lap.
Doing for either driver on the attack. Gogo Baldi knows Last Chance Saloon is coming up. That looked like a very neat final corner, though. And you can see immediately how defensive Stefanko feels. He needs to go riding up, almost grazing the pit wall here. As Gogo Baldi goes to the outside, he's going to look to attempt the undercut, I believe. The switchback, if you will. And he's going to do it very nicely indeed here, up alongside Stefanko, around the outside fully of turn 2. Stefanko will hold the inside line into turn 3. And is Gogo Baldi going to go fully around the outside here as well? No, he will not. And Stefanko, look at that little jink to change his line to the inside. That was so smart from Martin. Covers off the inside there, covers off the inside of turn 6, and Gogo Baldi still can't get through. Although there is the switchback in turn 6. Contact between the two. Sideways go the two, and going into turn 7, around the outside goes Gogo Baldi. Fantastic scrap, and on the inside of turn 8, that's the move complete. That was sensational stuff from Gogo Baldi, but it was sensational stuff from Jack Keithley as well. We didn't really talk too much about him, did we? But he wins in the Nürburgring. He becomes our first 2 times winner to back up the 2 times pole sitter stat. He wins from Florian Hasse, from Julian Kunze, Vince Bunky and Moritz Lerner round out the top 5. And coming home in P6, deservedly so, will be Gogo Baldi. What a brilliant battle between himself and Stefanko there for P6. Both of them deserve the points to come home with, as Julian Gaffinen spins there. Is that Roman Ivanov? No.
I think it's a car. It's a lap. Oh yeah, it is Puglisi. Who was spun there, lets him back through. And Brzezinski actually spun as well. He lost the place to Zangaffinen. Only P11 in the end. Drama until the end. We also got Kerkhof and Zarebiec fighting until the final corner of the race. Oh, Kerkhof a little bit late on the braking there. Battles until the end. Not for this one though.
That boiled over nicely, didn't it? But he was untroubled for the entire race. It wasn't as dominant a margin as in Autodrom Most, but it was a very Jack Keithley style of victory. Second win of the season. He thrusts himself properly into the championship battle, but who is going to come out as our championship leader after this? My money, looking at the stats, would probably be Vince Bunky. But of course, with drop scores to be included now from round 5 onwards, we'll only get a better picture once we head to round 5 itself.
Yeah, the official results. Keithley also with the fastest lap. Remember, he took the pole position, lights to flag victory. Well, if you count out Reisig leading for a bit during the pit stop phase. A perfect result for Keithley. Ahead of the 2 Euronics cars, and Euronics still showing strong pace. In this championship, Bunky in P4, and then Lerner with a good race in P5.
It is going to be close between Bunky and Lerner. Very close indeed. Of course, for Hasse, it's his 3rd podium of the season. For Kunze, it is his 2nd podium of the season. But everything could potentially change, Rob. Once again, we are back next week for round 5. It's going to be an interesting track, isn't it? It's going to be Circuit Zandvoort, located in the Netherlands. And we have that much anticipated balance of power patch expected. Will we see this Corvette and Porsche preference dissipate away into a much more equal spread across the field? Will we see a new car rise to the top? There are so many questions, and I want it to be next week already.
Yes, short update from server 2, which is streamed on the RRVGT YouTube channel. So if you want to watch it, don't want to get a spoiler, then just turn off your speakers real quick. So victory there goes to Johannes Weiss in the BMW. Once again, winning ahead of Lucas Baron in an Audi and Guillaume Theot in the Corvette. So nice to see some different manufacturers already performing well in the second server. Yes, and this was already the halfway point of the season, James. And once again, an exciting race, exciting championship forming up. It's hard to call. I mean, it's really hard to call who's going to challenge for the title here. I mean, Keithley once again, strong performance. Euronics, you can't really tell who's the quickest driver at Euronics. Then Bunky, of course. I would not count out Bunky. I think Bunky had a really solid performance once again.
So many questions. Hopefully a few of them will be answered next time out. We are 3 online rounds until the end of our online championship. Of course, we're 4 rounds away from the completion of this championship. Zandvoort, Sachsenring, and the Hockenheim Ring await us before our live final of the Tuning World Bodensee. We hope you tune in next week, though. First up on that list, we head to the Netherlands. We head to Zandvoort. Will there be a change in the pecking order, or will the same cream rise to the top?
If you want to qualify for the race at Zandvoort, head over to game.raceroom.com. You can try it out. Maybe you will make it into one of the 4 servers here for the race day.
Absolutely. Well, I guess final procedure as always. Big thank you to Mr. Robert Wiesenmüller for joining me. Thank you all very much for watching. I've been James Kirk, and from all of us here, it is a very warm goodbye.